To begin with, my father was dead. I'm sorry to begin this story in a Charles Dickens kind of way. My name is Tyrrell, and I want to tell you about my family and what will happen after the death of my father. Um, we live in Pleasant Valley, and the lands here have been in our family for over generations. The first family members that settled here got the grants of land of the government, and they have been farming here ever since. Although in the beginning it was a very large family, several brothers settled here and each got their own part of the valley. But over the time, family members passed away without children, and others chose another career, not to follow their parents, and thus the smaller farms, the many smaller farms, merged into fewer bigger farms. Um, at the time my granddad died, it was left to my uncle and my dad. Um, those were the two remaining owners of the ground. Um, a few years ago, my uncle passed away, and he didn't have any family members left that were interested in farming, so my dad took over his part of the valley. That resulted that my father owned all the arable ground in the valley. At the time, I was 18 years old and I was starting to go to the university to have a business degree. Our country requires that you have a kind of a business or economics degree to be able to run a business. And I thought it would be a very good addition since I intend to follow my father. Over the time, we started making plans to expand the farm to make it more efficient with the knowledge I got from the university, from my degree. I kind of helped my dad to create plans. It has always been my grandfather's vision to provide the valley with whatever it would need that could be grown locally. Not everything can be grown locally, but everything that could be grown, he wanted to grow here and provide for the people that live here. So we started making plans and started merging fields so that we would have fewer fields but bigger, so that we could use bigger machinery which was more fuel efficient, have less trips between going from field to field and so on, and that would really help with the efficiency. We could use bigger trucks. We planned on using road trains and such. After the merging of the fields, etc., we also started planning to build factories to provide the people with goods, so that we would cut away some of the middlemen that would be in between the grown products and the final consumer. It's not the idea to kill the economy, it's to make it more efficient so that we would get a slightly higher price than we would when we go to the auctioneering houses, and maybe the end user would pay slightly less than they would pay if all the middle companies and transactions in between. Therefore, we started buying land and started planning to build factories to work with the produce that we me grow. Unfortunately, my father died from an aortic rupture during the winter. It was a really harsh time for my mother and also for all our employees, because it would bring uncertainty. As I couldn't take over the business yet, my mother was not active in the business, so she didn't really have an idea of what to do, of what was going on. So we called a meeting with my mom and the employees, and we decided that we would let most of them go. One of the reasons was that the leased equipment was in Dad's name, and it would be too difficult to change it. So those contracts were void, and so we started returning the machineries. We did decide that we wanted to plant the fields so that we could continue the farm after I had my degree. I had only one semester left to do, so we used contractors to plant the fields, but they have not been fertilized or sprayed, no herbicide or anything. So we know we won't be getting a huge yield out of the land, but at least something should come out of it. So that would still be some kind of income for the farm, to give me a smaller chance or a bigger chance to start rebuilding. The only machines that are still left on the farm are some machines that were bought. Those we kept after the winter. We were still left with the crops that were harvested last year. They're still in storage. We hadn't sold them yet. That was waiting for the market to be optimal to sell, but obviously never got to that. So when I finally got my degree, it fell on to me to start selling the crops and prepare for the next harvest, and also for continuing the farm, as well as making sure that the factories that we planned would get built, because the land are purchased, the contractors were hired, sort of, but the materials still need to be provided and everything. So that's basically it for the main goal. So pretty much it's selling the crops, harvesting the existing crops, replanting, and making sure that the factories get built, which will be a huge task. The farming in itself is not that complicated. I do have some experience, and we will depend on the workers that are currently unemployed, but they will be good advisors and everything. But it's the factories and the stream of goods that need to go there, the logistics, that will be a challenge, because we do not have many experience with that. But yeah, I'm confident that we will succeed, and now that I got my degree, I can finally start working on that. So in the next video I will be doing a short equipment tour, machine tour, and also after that I will do a farm tour. I've been just driving around the farm while I was explaining, but I will give a smaller, a more in-depth tour of the valley. Okay, I see you in the next.